Hey Brave Nation, and welcome in to our 9th episode of BraveHawk Talk on the UNCP Sports Network. I'm John Gross, and as always, so grateful for all of you for joining us on today's show. I hope that everyone's doing well out there, that you're staying safe, that you're staying inside for the most part and socially distancing, following all proper protocols. And I want to give a huge thank you to all of those on the front lines of this pandemic, the healthcare workers, the essential employees, everyone making sure that we're all safe. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. Today's show is another good one. We have two awesome guests. We start off with this week's Scotland Health Student Athlete of the Week. That's Spencer Levi of the UNCP men's basketball team. We talk with Spencer about his journey from St. Louis over to Pembroke. There was a pit stop involved. Interesting story there, and how he started to fall in love with basketball as well. Then later on in the show, we are joined by Jen Smith, UNCP's Director of Fan Engagement. We talk about Jen's role with UNCP Athletics, and she also gives a great movie recommendation, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But without further ado, here is episode 9 of BraveHawk Talk, starting off with Spencer Levi, forward on the UNCP men's basketball team. How have you and your family been doing over the last few weeks?
It's been a little difficult and different of a time, being that I'm a college student and both my parents work, and we kind of have to be with each other all day, so it's a little bit of a change from the normal life of a college student, but I like it. It's enjoying, being around the family and everything, and just being in tune with your younger self.
That's definitely a great way to look at things at this point in time. And you're taking all your classes online, right?
I am, yeah. I got all my classes online right now. I actually just took a final exam this morning, so.
Very nice. Well, congratulations. And we'll talk about your academic success a little later on, because you've certainly been a star both on and off the court. But taking a look back at your early years playing sports, growing up, maybe I know you really didn't start playing basketball seriously until a little bit later on, but what was your athletics life like in your younger years?
I kind of just grew up playing every sport, I started playing basketball, baseball, football, and everything, by the time I could when I was really young, and just kind of stuck with those main three all the way up throughout middle school and everything. And I was really serious into baseball. I was on like a travel team for a little bit. I played football with the school as well as basketball. But I was just pretty much good at all of that. And then high school came around. I did cross country, basketball, baseball, volleyball, track and field. And then pretty much just stuck with all that, And then as soon as I started getting a little bit older in my upper classes days in high school, I fell in love with basketball and volleyball. So those are what I stuck with. And you can see which one I play today.
Yeah, and those are two sports that it certainly helps to be tall. And you're right now at 6'7", and I know between your sophomore year and junior year, you grew from 5'8" to 6'4". Is that right?
Yeah, about 5. It was probably more about like 5'9", 5'10", but yeah, I don't even know. I left for the summer, and over the summer, I knew I grew, but I didn't know how much I grew. And then by the time I had to get a physical for my junior year of high school, I came back and I was listed at 6'4". So wow. It kind of just happened without even knowing it.
Wow. That's incredible. And you said your kind of last two sports were volleyball and basketball. So what led you to pursue basketball at the next level?
Basketball is something that, I've always loved. I always loved watching it when I was little. Everything from the NCAA games to our local high school games to the NBA games. And I don't know, I kind of just liked that. It was a sport that I always liked to play, and then I kind of noticed I seriously started getting good at it about those years when I started getting a little taller and everything. And I took it more serious than volleyball too. And I knew that's just what I wanted to do. It was exciting, and I just stuck with it, pretty much.
And you're a St. Louis guy, and maybe I've been influenced quite a bit, I guess, by assistant coach Connor Keltner, who we had a lot of conversations about St. Louis basketball. but for a city that has not had a high-level professional basketball team since the Spirits of St. Louis back in the 70s, I think that they're it's one of the most underrated basketball cities in the country. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I could not agree more. St. Louis is a place I grew up at, and everything I love to death. And we have Bradley Beal, David Lee, then we have Jason Tatum, who's currently in the NBA. We have multiple guys who are overseas playing at high D1 levels. And we have more people who are still in high school who are, we have one guy, Caleb Love, I think, he's playing at Chapel Hill next year. We just don't get the recognition we should as a city.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Totally with you on that. So you finish up your high school career and you start off at the D3 level at University of Dallas. What was the recruitment process like for you out of high school?
Well, senior year of high school and everything, I took a lot of visits. I visited a bunch of D3s. I visited some NAIAs. I had an offer to go visit a couple D2s, but I ended up taking a D2 offer to Drury, which is in Springfield, which is Coach Kellner's hometown. And it kind of just came down to, Dallas and Drury. Because at Division III, they do not offer athletic scholarships. And that was a school that it was in a great location, big city, warm place. And I had a bunch of academic, money being given from them. And I kind of just came down between Dallas and Drury. And the way, just the way everything kind of panned out with recruiting and, school and academics and everything, I just chose University of Dallas.
So you get to Dallas and you put together an incredible freshman season. You were named D3 Rookie of the Year, a D3 All-American. You averaged 19 and 11. After that first season, did you kind of realize that, okay, I think I can play at a higher level than where I am right now?
If I don't be honest, I've always thought I could play at, a high level or the highest level. I'm pretty much will succeed wherever you put me, in my opinion. But that's just part of my confidence. But once I played there, and Division III is very underrated too when we talk about basketball players. Like there's a bunch of them who can just ball out and have the same route as me, just under recruited and everything. So just kind of played there, and then once I started having season, I knew that I was a freshman and there was more routes that I could possibly take. So my high school coach reached out to me, and he knew somebody who is friends with Coach Richards, and it ended up being that my high school coach offered me the previous coach, Coach Miller. And I don't know, it kind of just panned out that I was supposed to, this is the route I was supposed to take from God, so that's the route I took.
And it's funny how those kind of odd connections, I mean, this Missouri to UNCP pipeline is a thing, both in coaches and in your case as a student athlete. So you get to UNCP, you continue your success both on and off the court, and let's focus a little bit on this year, because this was a fascinating season. You win the conference regular season title, then you lose in the conference semifinals, and as we all know, sports came to a standstill on the bus going to the NCAA tournament. What was that moment like when you found out that the season's over?
Kind of when you realize the season's over with and you won't be able to play, any more basketball games, having more practice. It's upsetting just because every guy on the court and every guy on the team, you spend your whole day with them practically. You know them, you know their lives, you know who they are, and it's just upsetting because each season has its own unique and individual bond, created its own characteristics, and this one was a very memorable one. Everything we did on the court and the people and individuals we had off the court. And I think as soon as I got that call, I was just devastated that we weren't going to have that. I'm just glad and grateful that I have one more year to put on a Braves uniform and go out there and play more.
And obviously, it's about as difficult and heartbreaking of an ending as you can have with your season being cut short due to these unforeseen circumstances. But still plenty to be proud of. You make history as the first ever outright regular season Peach Belt Conference champions. So, besides the way the season ended, how do you assess how this past season went down for the program?
I think the season went. I think it went really well. I'm not going to say great because we didn't reach our goal as winning the conference tournament, and we weren't able to see what panned out in the NCAA tournament. But I think we had a very good season. I think it was very memorable, and like you said, first outright championship. We had all of our seniors who had been here forever. Akia Pruitt, player of the year, first team, first player ever to have 1,000. Tyrell Kirk, for those who don't know, he was first team. You have Jordan Ratliff, and you have all these other guys too who just consistently, just showed and growed over the year. And I think it was just overall just a great season that was just cut short by something that none of us really explained.
Well, like you said a couple of minutes ago, you do have one more season to put on a Braves uniform. And heading into next year, there are 3 key seniors in the front court who have graduated. Akia Pruitt, who, like you said, the only player in conference history with 1,000, one of the best players in program history. Sean Kirk, Carson Mounts, those are 3 main contributors. And now you kind of step into that senior leadership role and kind of hold down the fort in the front court. So what are your goals for the upcoming season?
My goal is just to do everything I can to help out the team and the program. We've been on a wave for years now. I think there was something put out how we have the most, championship wins, or we're the biggest champions, like amongst schools in North Carolina and everything. And I just want to do everything that I can to make that keep happening, and then show and be a role model for younger individuals and help grow our younger players too. I just want to be the best senior I can be for the team, program, school, and then just do what I have to do, with the rest of the team, because I know everyone's ready to play and get back out there and just keep dominating like we have.
And to have Coach Richards back, the guy that you're familiar with, and to have Coach Jones and the staff as well, what was your, reaction when you found out that Coach Richards was going to be the head coach, and what are you looking forward to in that regard, that you'll have both them on the bench with you guys again?
I think it brings back a great dynamic. We had a great one last year, but with Coach Richards being back, he was the one who helped recruit me, helps recruit multiple guys on the team and everything. It's nice to have his presence back. He's a key member when you talk about, UNC Pembroke basketball, especially within the recent years and the decade of the team and everything. He had a big part to do with it. And then to get Coach Jones back, Coach Kellner and everybody, it's just nice to know you have that type of stability, and we're just building more off of what we've been doing.
As we've talked about a couple of times, you have had tremendous success in the classroom. I know you're a criminal justice major, but this year named to the PBC Academic Distinction Team, that requires at least a 3.3 GPA. So you clearly value your experience in the classroom. And being a criminal justice major, what led you down that path?
Actually now I'm a criminal justice and sociology major, so I'll throw that in. But I don't know. I've always been taught by my mom and my dad and my grandparents that athletics and your body is not going to last forever. And I was taught that from a very young age. So I choose to enjoy sports and stuff like I can now. But it's important to have a degree, especially within the world we live today, and just make sure that you get your education, your smarts, the degrees, everything you need, so you can have a successful job after basketball. Because none of us really know what's going to happen when we take off a college uniform and it's time to step into the real world. So that's just kind of how it's viewed. And I take away as much as I can from the classroom as I do on the basketball court or any other facet of life. So that's just how I do what I do.
So criminal justice and sociology double major, And once your basketball career comes to an end, whether it's your time at UNCP or beyond that, what do you hope to do with your life?
I hope to just be able to do something that I love to do every day. My dad, he cuts hair and he loves what he does every day. My mom goes in and she works over at Coastal Carolina. She enjoys her work every single day, and I just kind of want to keep that up with whatever is kind of an opportunity to me that I feel like it's the right one to pursue and everything. I just want to go and just have fun because that's what life's about. That's part of the potion of life.
Awesome. Inspirational stuff from Spencer Levi. And we like to end with a couple of, well, normally one fun question, but you brought something up right before we started recording that today is National Lookalike Day. So before we get to the question that I was going to ask you, I have to ask you this. Since it is National Lookalike Day, who is your lookalike?
If I had to say it was anybody, probably Will Ferrell. For his roles as like Jackie Moon and Semi-Pro, Step Brothers, Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights, and hilarious guy.
And
that's probably my lookalike.
This was before I got to UNCP, but I have seen the videos. You were Jackie Moon last year, correct?
I was indeed Jackie Moon. I was.
So right there you have the resemblance, and listen, if anyone's ever looking for a Will Ferrell impersonator, I think they know who to call.
Yeah, come to me. I got
you. So the question that I'd been meaning to ask you, well, first of all, did you watch the Last Dance last night?
Did I watch the what?
The Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance?
I gotta be honest, I have not watched like any TV or anything really. I've just been listening to music, enjoying the nice weather. I have not watched anything, and we only got like 4 channels on cable, so.
Well, I respect that, and so okay, so just to fill you in, there was this 10-part documentary series that ESPN put together about MJ and the Bulls and focusing on their last season together in 97, 98. So leads me to ask you, who is the GOAT? And I know the argument most of the time is MJ versus LeBron. I don't know if you have anyone else that you might want to throw in there, but who do you think is the best basketball player of all time?
Okay, is this based off of personal preference, like my favorite player, or who is just like the GOAT?
Just the GOAT. Not necessarily. I mean, you could throw your favorite player in there, but I'm definitely looking for who do you think is the best basketball player of all time? The GOAT.
Okay, this isn't my answer yet, but I think Kobe should be in the discussion with MJ and LeBron. That's not my answer. I think the GOAT is either Wilt Chamberlain or Shaq, personally.
Wow.
Personally. I know it's out there. But I would say one of those two or Kareem. I'm giving it to one of the big guys. And I'm probably going with Wilt over any of them.
Wow. Those are I've heard Kareem, I've heard Wilt. I don't know if I've ever heard Shaq before, so that is a unique perspective right there. But
one of the most dominant players in his time.
Yeah. Hey, I saw that firsthand as a lifelong New Jersey Nets fan. He demolished the Nets in the 2002 NBA Finals. So he's Shaq Diesel, unstoppable. But so if you had to pick one out of those three, though, you said Wilt Chamberlain, right?
Oh yeah, well 50.4 points per game, 25 rebounds, 100 points.
Yep.
I mean, there's certain things you could argue about who he plays against and everything, but there's too much there for me personally not to choose him.
You know what I just find crazy about Wilt and that era of basketball? I mean, he scored 100 points in a game, and there are very few records like actual either pictures. I don't think that there's any video. I don't think there was a radio broadcast. I think there was just the scorebook back when he scored 100 points, and that just shows how far the NBA has come since then, that the most points ever scored in a game, there's barely any record of it. But I think Wilt has to be up there. I think you're right with that.
Thank
Spencer, I really appreciate you coming on. Congratulations on a successful career so far, and we look forward to following you in your senior year. Thanks again to Spencer for joining me on today's podcast. Gave some insightful answers, and we look forward to following his senior year at UNCP and whatever his future may hold. Up next, I chat with UNC Pembroke's Director of Fan Engagement, Jen Smith. We talk about Jen's role as the Director of Fan Engagement, and also going back to her time at Alabama, having to learn a completely new sport. Thank you so much for joining me today on BraveHawk Talk. Really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. So obviously, things have changed, I guess, in the way that you may be running the social media accounts. A lot of us have been going out about our jobs and about our lives, really. How have the last few weeks been for you?
It's been all right. Now that, it's been a few weeks, definitely have gotten more of a schedule per se, definitely more smooth than like the first week. That was a little rough for adjustment wise, but making the most of it, trying to keep our fans engaged, so we're doing the best we can for sure.
Now, it was actually, you had quite the birthday this year, right? That was the day that that the first domino fell, right?
Yes, it happened on my birthday. So me and my best friend went to the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team play in Dallas, and they live in Houston, and we were driving over to Dallas, and we were getting gas, midday, and the Houston Rodeo announced that they were canceling it. So that was the first thing that I really heard of that was starting to get canceled, and then the rest of the drive, it just slowly kept getting, bigger things, and we were in the car so about this game in 2 hours, but no, the game was still on, we went to it, but yeah, it definitely started on my birthday. We'll never forget it, neither will the rest of the world, but it's fine.
So you went to one of the last sporting events with fans.
Yes, I definitely did, for sure. We squeezed it in right in the nick of time.
Did you have any idea that would be the last sporting event for an indefinite amount of time?
Well, I wasn't obviously on my phone too much during the game, so when we got back to the hotel is when I really was just on Twitter, and that's when I really saw all of it. And for vaguely I think so, but it was definitely the next morning where I was that was probably the last sporting event.
Yeah. So let's go back in time a little bit to your early years, and when you first really became a sports fan. Do you remember the first sporting event you watched, or kind of how you became a sports fan?
The first sporting event I watched was probably it would have been the 1999 World Cup. I was 4, so I don't really remember too much of it. I just remember definitely watching. I seeing it sort of vaguely. But that was probably the first one. And then from there, I have several memories of Saturdays with my parents watching some Alabama football. That's probably the most from an early age that I definitely do remember for sure. And then it just slowly started getting increased in that because I love sports. So I just kept watching it over and over. Anything that was on, I would watch it. But 99 World Cup was probably the first one.
And you played sports growing up, right?
I did. I tried all of them except for tennis because I knew that involved a lot of running. But I tried soccer, I did basketball, and golf. Those 3 were probably the ones that I played more often than the others.
So you said that you grew up watching Alabama football games, and you attended Alabama. We'll get to that in a second. But I know it's from birth, maybe even not even your own decision. Maybe that decision's made for you. But you grew up in Alabama. It's Alabama or Auburn, Roll Tide or War Eagle. So how did that decision come to be that your team Roll Tide?
Well, considering my whole entire family is Roll Tide, I definitely did not have much of a choice. No, I'm kidding. My parents would have. My dad probably would have been, that would have been a tough one to go over. But if I wanted to, then I think they would have definitely allowed it. They just would have not talked to me for that Saturday. But no, I definitely grew up in an Alabama family. And that's all I knew. So, I just remember hearing Roll Tide. So I was like, okay, let's just go with Roll Tide. So.
So you grew up a Bama fan. You go to Alabama. And I know that while you were at Alabama, you had some really cool experiences. And one of the one of the coolest things I think that we've talked about your experience there was your work with the rowing team, right? The crew team.
Yes, the rowing team. That job will probably always hold a special place in my heart. Big props to the communications department there, Jessica Perret and Aaron Jordan and all of them. They saw something in me that I didn't see myself. So the first year I was just a regular student assistant doing, whatever they needed. And then they reached out to me the summer after my first year was completed, and they were like, hey, we think you would be a good fit to oversee the rowing as your own, basically. I was still having, Nate Sheehan over me, but I was doing basically the actual SID stuff with it. Their first fall season, that was rough. I did not know anything about the sport. I did not know any of the athletes that well, but we just kept rolling with it, and it turned out to be definitely one of my favorite jobs that I'll probably ever have, for sure.
And you just said it, you really didn't know much about the sport, so how did you go about learning about rowing?
Well, obviously I had a general knowledge of it just from the Olympics, because I'm the person that, watches every Olympic event. So I knew the general basis of the first boat to cross the finish line would win. That's it. So once it started, there's so many, terminology aspects of it, like 1v8, 2v8, 3v4, like all this kind of stuff. But I think the biggest key was just, realizing that I don't have knowledge of this, and I won't have knowledge of it if I keep acting like I do. So I just went up to some of the athletes, and I was like, hey, I need you to explain this to me in a dumbified version so I know what's going on, basically. And they were great. I couldn't have asked for better student athletes on that team. They were so patient and understanding. They were really easy to work with, for sure. So.
And obviously Alabama being such an enormous university as a whole, and the athletic department there is elite. It's one of the top athletic departments in the country, without a doubt. How do you feel that your experiences working in the Alabama athletic department prepared you for your position now at UNCP?
That was really the first big job, I guess you could say, that I had. So I obviously had some confidence before that, but I definitely grew into the person that I am today through that job. So I owe a lot to them. I always will. And I think the biggest thing that I took from that was the being willing to put your ego aside and just be like, I don't know what I'm not going to know what I don't know. So I think you learn a lot from a D1 school, obviously, given the resources that they have and the kind of atmosphere and experiences that they can provide that obviously most D2 can't, just given the kind of budget that we have. But I think there's a lot of overarching aspects of it to where if you just get creative with what you want to do from a D1, you can turn it into a D2. It's just a matter of how much thought, how much creativity that you really want to put into it.
And you keep bringing up an interesting point about how you had to accept the fact that you didn't know about rowing. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, literally just yesterday I was listening to a podcast that Arian Foster was on. I know he's a Tennessee guy. I know you might not be a huge fan of his, but he is obviously a phenomenal NFL player, but just a phenomenal thinker, really, really intelligent guy. And he was saying in the podcast that ignorance is a gift, and a lot of people just don't like to accept the fact that sometimes we don't know the answers, but you've clearly illustrated how important it is to just accept the fact that sometimes you may not know things, so that's awesome. So you graduate from Alabama, you come to UNCP, and you are the Director of Fan Engagement. What does that position entail? Because I know that it is a pretty much all-encompassing role here at UNCP.
That's a good way of putting it. It's definitely all-encompassing. I do a lot more. I do a lot of stuff that is definitely in the fine print of that. No, I'm kidding. But really, it's so fan engagement, I mean, for the most part, it just, to some extent it speaks for itself, keeping the fans engaged during games, finding ways to incorporate them in unique ways during a game instead of just at halftime or whatever. Like, what can we do during a media timeout to keep them just as engaged as they are, 2 minutes prior when the game was actually going on? So there's that aspect, and then there's obviously social media, which is obviously big given the time that we're in. So not only do you have to keep them engaged, at the actual game, but what can you do on on our accounts? What can I do on our accounts that can keep our fans engaged in that aspect as well? So there's constantly, especially now that nothing's really going on, I have a perfect opportunity to basically stalk professional team accounts and other team accounts. That's whenever I'm on social media, that's probably the majority of what I'm doing. It's just looking to see what other teams are doing, what's working for them, and how we can do that to our advantage, how we can use that. And then there's also a little snippet of script writing here and there. We have our own marketing interns, so there's definitely a lot of this and that mixed into one, basically like witchcraft sorcery bowl of spells, basically.
And I know that you and the rest of the marketing team has worked really hard to bring some new things to UNCP or continue to improve and grow the department. But looking back now at your first year here, is there an event or a promotion or a moment that stands out to you that you're the most proud of?
I think, obviously, since it was the first year, I think, especially in this kind of role, this position, I think the whole year really stands out to some extent, just because it was the first time that I had ever really done anything like this. But I think the autism series with softball, that really hit home, sort of, because at my church growing up, they have this like hand-in-hand ministry that's for, special needs people, autism people, and, they've always had a special place in my heart just because of the kind of attitude that they bring. They're always positive, they're always upbeat, no matter what comes their way. They're just always so energetic and positive, and for us to provide a game, a doubleheader for them, through the help with Coach Bennett. That was something that she spoke about, but, to really bring that to light and hopefully, make that a more annual thing, I think really hit home for sure. That was fun.
That was an awesome event, and I was at baseball for it, but I mean, just from what I've heard and the feedback I know that you guys have all gotten was great. So great work with that, and we like to end with fun questions. And I know that you are a massive Disney fan, that's one of the first things that I learned about you, Jen. That you are a huge Disney fan. So this might be this could be very easy. It could also be difficult given how big of a fan you are. But if you had to pick one Disney character that reminds you of yourself, or you relate to in some sort of way, what Disney character would you choose?
Oh, man. John, that is hard. Okay, let's see. Okay.
Only the toughest questions.
Always putting me on the spot. Okay, my favorite movie is definitely The Lion King. So I'm probably going to pick a character from that, just because that's where my mind first went when you said Disney. Probably. Okay, not who I relate to, but Rafiki always, especially in like the original Lion King, his little lines, he really just, hits me over the head with his little like stick, his little like remember, like the past can't hurt you if you like learn something or whatever, and I'm like, dang dude, like yes. So Rafiki definitely provides me a lot of, I got to remember this because this little old guy really knows what he's talking about.
I'll throw you a bonus question too, just because a lot of people have so much time on their hands now, and obviously watching movies has become a favorite pastime of our time in quarantine. Is there a Disney movie that maybe a lot of people might not have seen that you think everyone needs to see?
Right on track. Disney Channel original movie. Brie Larson, Captain Marvel is in it when she's little. So, there you go. But that movie, I think, is really underappreciated. It's about these two sisters that started racing at an early age, during a time when it was predominantly a male sport, and their dad was for it. He was like, if you want to do this, then I'll let you do it. And they turned around to become really great racers. And I think that movie, especially given the time now, I think that movie really sheds light on, it doesn't really matter, what gender you are or where you stand politically. All that matters is if you have a drive to do something, then you should do it and follow through with it, and trust that the people in your corner will support you through it. So that's a really good movie.
Wow, that sounds great. I honestly have not heard of it. To be fair, I'm not an enormous Disney guy, sorry to say, but I will have to check it out.
Yeah, it's like a wholesome, just a lighthearted movie, really good, really good.
Awesome. Well, Jen, I really appreciate you taking time to talk with me. You've done great work this year, and stay safe out there.
Of course, you too, John. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of episode 9 of BraveHawk Talk on the UNCP Sports Network. Thanks again to Spencer and Jen for coming on today's show. Thanks to all of you for listening to the podcast as well. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media pages. You can like us on Facebook under UNCP Athletics. Follow us on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and TikTok. I think I got all of them in there. At UNCP_sports. And visit our website, uncpbraves.com, if you're looking to stay up to date on all things UNCP Athletics. We'll be back on Friday with a brand new episode. Until then, I'm John Gross. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.